Testing, testing.
Good evening, everybody, and those on the audience and those watching at home to the 2018 annual meeting of the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors and the public hearing on the proposed 2019 annual budget. First up will be an invocation by Supervisor Hoffman, followed by a pledge of allegiance to the flag. So Supervisor Hoffman. And I did forget this as well. As many of you might know, former County Board Supervisor Earl Glazer, a current member of the Board of Adjustment, passed away this last Saturday. So after Supervisor Hoffman is done with his remarks, we'll have a moment of silence for former Supervisor Glazer. Please.
Dear Lord, let us take our time and think about our budget for this year. Give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the patience to work our way through this budget to help Manitowoc County again in the future year. Please take our time, take our notice, and remember our people that are serving to keep our country free. And remember the people that were just killed down at the Carolina. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Supervisor Hoffman. And with former Supervisor Earl Glazer, his funeral will be, I think, this coming Wednesday. As in the past, County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer has ordered Manitowoc County flags to be lowered to half-staff in honor of Supervisor Glazer. Hopefully, we'll have a proclamation honoring him as well very soon. All right, roll call is going around. We have 21 members present. 4 are excused. Supervisors Swade, Henriksen, Dizak, and Gauger are excused for this evening. Next up, consideration and correction of our minutes from our October 9th, 2018 meeting. Motion by Supervisor Benke, second by Supervisor Holschbach to approve those minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried, and the minutes are approved. We have no additions or deletions to the agenda, so we'll move right along. We'll jump right into public comment. We'll have 2 public comments tonight. First will be the portion of the public hearing on the county executive's proposed 2019 annual budget. And after that is done, then we'll go to our normal public comment on non-budget issues. So, if there's anybody wishing to speak tonight on the proposed budget, please raise your hand and you'll be allowed approximately, we'll be nice tonight on the budget portion. We'll go 5 minutes on that one. And you'll just give your name and address, and you'll be allowed to come up to the podium and you speak for 5 minutes. Is there anybody wishing to speak on the proposed 2019 budget? You'll start with Kristen.
Kristen Steger, 810 Indian Creek Drive, Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I am the Library Director of Manitowoc Public Library. We are very appreciative of the great partnership we've had with the county for many years. Historically, Manitowoc County funds the library at 100% instead of the 70% base requirement from Chapter 43 state statutes. This is a great investment in our county libraries and overall county education and access to literacy resources. Thank you for that investment. As I share with you each time I present to the county board, Manitowoc Public Library is accomplishing great things in our community over the past 2 years that I've been here and many years prior to my coming. I'd like to just share a few of those achievements with you tonight. Annually, we circulate between 450,000 to 500,000 physical materials for checkout each year. Those circulations are to 21,309 of our residents, 6,198 of them which are county residents. In addition to those physical circulations, we also offer electronic resources such as tutor.com, which provides access to a tutor outside of school hours for our students, Tumble Books to support early literacy skills in pre-K, kindergarten, and our elementary schools, Overdrive, which provides access to electronic books and audiobooks for circulation, Mango Languages for online foreign language learning, and virtual library cards, which provide unrestricted access to our wealth of online resources that Manitowoc Public Library has for our K-12 students. In addition to all of those great electronic resources, we offer additional on-site resources, such as local history and genealogy research and assistance. We have educational programming and classes that have steadily increased by double digits year over year. For example, from 2016 to 2017, our programming statistics increased by 13.5%. And in this year, we've currently surpassed those numbers, even though we have several months left in the year. In addition, we offer summer reading program every year to support literacy from birth through our entire lifespan. And this year, we had a 90% increase in participation from our teens, 110% increase in participation from children, and 200% increase in our adults in our community for our summer reading program. This is important to help students bridge their summer slide and to help support lifelong learning for our adults, which ultimately leads to a better educated workforce. Not to mention, we also provide access to internet, computers, printing, faxing, homebound services, notary, proctoring, meeting room space, and research assistance. Everything we do at the library is to support lifelong learning. The positive impact of our programs like these is not only experienced by the participants, but by our entire community. The more literate a community is, the more successful it is. And all of these additional resources are not accounted for in county funding based on the statutory requirements. It's an added bonus for all of our county residents. Funding is currently based on physical circulation, which in a digital age is declining across the world. Libraries are about education and literacy, the form of which is changing in our digital age, but its importance remains the same as it was in 1900 when Manitowoc Public Library first opened its doors. Tonight, I'm not asking for additional funding to support all we do. I understand how challenging that would be. Our physical circulation decreased from 2015 to 2016, and the formula reflects that. We've double and triple checked the numbers to make sure they're accurate, and they are. This decrease in 2016 circulation has unfortunately led to a decrease in county funding of $70,792 for 2019. That's a 15% decrease in county funding to Manitowoc Public Library. As you can imagine, this is a large amount which would have a huge impact on our operating budget. So tonight, instead of asking for additional funding, I'm asking the county board to consider looking at flexible financing for Manitowoc Public Library to spread this $70,792 decrease over a 4-year period. A collaborative solution such as this would help mollify the potential impact on all of these great community resources I shared with you should the funding remain short, in addition to all of the other resources and services that I didn't talk about tonight. Please consider spreading this decrease over a multi-year period. Thank you for your time, attention, and all you do for our communities.
Thank you very much, Kristen. Is there anybody else wishing to speak this evening? Yes, Barb.
My name is Barbara Bundy Yost. I live at 5519 Point Creek Road in Cleveland, Wisconsin. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am a resident of Manitowoc County and the Secretary Treasurer of the Manitowoc Public Library Board of Directors. I thank you for taking this time to listen to a seasoned library user. Libraries are free public spaces that allow everyone to feel safe and to find opportunity. As Kristen stated, your support of our library is deeply appreciated. I also ask that you please consider helping us work through this $70,000 financial glitch by spreading this substantial decrease in our budget over a 4-year term. In a world where the chasm between those who have and those who have not, public libraries play an essential role in providing safe, accessible, and 100% free educational resource centers for every member in communities across the county. At a library, it doesn't matter how much money you make, because every resource is free of charge, including books, internet access, and educational and professional training programs. Individuals and families, no matter their socioeconomic status, can count on their libraries to provide them with the resources they need to succeed and the answers to important questions they can't otherwise find. Libraries provide a crucial service for poor and homeless people as well. Not only do they offer a safe and free refuge for those who need shelter, but they offer support to those in need. Each morning when the public library opens their doors, they become shelters, learning centers, and employment centers for the most underserved population. But I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I hope we can come together to build a solution that maintains the positive impact the library has on our community, our county, our state, our country. Help us continue celebrating the truly remarkable place that the library is, one of America's most important public institutions. I hope you'll consider our solution to spreading that $70,000 amount over 4 years. After all, ladies and gentlemen, even the IRS will make arrangements with the public to reconcile differences. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barb. Is there anybody else wishing to speak on the proposed 2019 budget? Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, Maura.
Yost, Centerville. Before I talk about our county's financial situation, I encourage everyone to vote on Tuesday, November 6th, whatever your political preference. In the last election, our county doubled. I'm having technical difficulties, I'm sorry. Please get out and vote. I support a half-cent county sales tax because the county is in need of additional revenue sources as evidenced by its increasing reliance on borrowed money, and because, given the state and federal debt loads, a county sales tax would add more certainty to our county budget. In 2017, the county borrowed principal of $10 million. In 2018, the county borrowed another $1.5 million. Now for 2019, our county executive proposes borrowing another $6.5 million to balance the budget. Without the proposed $6.5 million, our county's current 2019 debt, principal and interest, is $35 million. Not long ago, the bond rating agency Moody's downgraded Manitowoc County's rating, citing, quote, the county's historically narrow financial position, which is expected to further contract in fiscal 2018. The negative outlook reflects the county's narrow financial reserves. We could improve our rating by increasing our operating reserves by raising revenue, but more borrowing could lead to another rating downgrade and also means that we pay higher interest rates on our borrowing. There are numerous systemic factors that have put us in this current indebted position. Among them, the inflation rate of 27% since 2006, state-mandated levy limits, and reductions in both transportation aids and state aids to the county. County taxpayers have already paid more than $13 million in interest since 2006. According to the 2019 budget proposal, county taxpayers will pay over $4 million in interest for the 5-year period from 2018 to 2022. That money left our county. In the long run, the more fiscally conservative option is to pay a half penny more in sales tax because we are paying in current value of dollars so that we avoid the uncertainty of current and future rising interest rates. Property tax relief from a half penny sales tax is a good thing enjoyed by slightly more than 90% of Wisconsin County's taxpayers. Across Manitowoc County, the half penny sales tax would provide an estimated property tax relief of $1 per $1,000 of a property's equalized value. There are 49,000 taxable property parcels in Manitowoc County. Those property owners would benefit from lower property taxes, and many may be among our county's 43,000 registered voters. The most recent state estimate of our county's anticipated revenue from a half penny sales tax is $5.3 million per year. So had the half penny sales tax been implemented last year, we would be borrowing far less today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maura. Is there anybody else wishing to speak on the proposed budget for next year?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
If I may.
Hold on, let me turn you on here. Oop. All right.
Ms. Yost repeatedly saying a half penny sales tax. She really weakens her argument, because if you buy taxable goods and you add a half penny on it, it's a lot less than 0.5%, which is the correct number, not what she insists. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else wishing to speak on the proposed budget? Anyone else wishing to speak? And for a third and final time, anybody wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will declare that portion of public comment closed. And now we'll move on to non-related budget issues. We'll start, yes.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Slattery, 9704 Pouts Road, Maribel. I have given each one of you a copy of a study that the League of Women Voters researched and wrote over the past 3 years. Now, I am a member of that organization, as some of you certainly could. It's League of Women Voters and the men voters too. But what I'm up here for is to bring to your attention, all of you are on many committees. Some you asked to be on, some you didn't ask to be on. Some on which you are the expert, and some on which you are still learning. Alphabet soup can phase quite a few of us. This book is a description of the alphabet soup that serves all of the people in the county who are either poor or addicted. The outline is extensive. The resources in the back, there's books to read, suggestions. The author is, she believes in reading a lot. It's almost 5 pages of sources. It's a book of facts. We've interviewed people who provide services in the county. We've interviewed people who are your peers. We've interviewed police. We've interviewed people in the jail, the teacher in the jail. We've interviewed the providers of the services. And we've tried to arrange it over the range of birth to death, because that is the way Manitowoc Healthiest County has looked at providing services to citizens, is from birth to death. And they have the new slogan is Healthy 25, which means trying to get all the children born to live to be 25. And then they go to Healthy 75, which means I got another year for which they care about. And after that, you can die after 75. So I encourage you to look through this book. You can download the digital copy from the League of Women Voter website. It's the Manitowoc County website and of the League, and you can search it there. So if you're at reading something and it says the CCS is going to do this, well, you're not on the committee that monitors that. Who is that? What is that? If you got the digital thing on your little quickie computer that the county gave you, you can download it on that and then look it up. And it might be on 14 different pages, but at the top of the page where you search for it, it's got little arrows. Well, that page didn't answer your question, so you click the arrow. You get to the next page, the next page, the next page, and you might find the answer to your questions. Plus, along the way, you might educate yourself. So I really strongly encourage you to do 2 things. Keep the paper copy, the definitions of poverty that are used in the state and that classify people as to available, they're eligible for funds or eligible for a service. There's 3 different definitions that the state uses. WPS, Wisconsin Poverty Number, I think it is. Then there's the federal poverty, and then there's at least 3 or 4 different definitions. And you know, they change based on what they include as income. In some places, if you are eligible for a benefit from a service agency, that's included in your income if you're eligible. But it is not, but you might not have it available in that county where you live. But because you're eligible, it's called income. Now, some of these rules are ancient and archaic, but some of them are very actively changed. So I strongly encourage you to use this. And I thank Supervisor Hoffman for including praying for patience and diligence when you look at the budget. You have a huge responsibility, and please don't treat it like, well, I'm a rubber stamp. Because we, the voters, have one supervisor, and we expect them to know everything. Well, they don't. So please, where your expertise is, please use it for the benefit of the citizens of the county. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Just a clarification, though, the little computers that you see around here are not the county-owned computers. They're their own personal computers. Well, I'm still hoping. It's coming. I'm still hoping. So we'll be having that discussion in the next several weeks. But anyways, thank you very much for your comments. Anybody else? Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. Justin Nichols, I reside at 816A South 8th Street, but tonight I'd like to share with you speaking as mayor of the city of Manitowoc. County Board Supervisors, I am here today to ask you to postpone your consideration of the proposed resolution to sell 93.48 acres of county-owned property located at the corner of Hecker Road and Vebon Street. While this property is located in the town of Newton, it has extreme long-term value to the city, town, and county. This property is located with direct visible access to Interstate 43 and direct vehicular access to on and off ramps only minutes away. Kitty corner from this property is already seeing development of the movie theater, Investors Community Bank, and 3 open and available lots for development. Let's not fool ourselves. Within the next 25 years, this parcel you are considering selling will be very valuable to the town of Newton, the city of Manitowoc, and Manitowoc County for tremendous development. Selling this to a private individual at the price that you are will have long-term negative effects when growth continues in this area. Having Manitowoc County own this property is doing you no harm. There is no need to sell this property. It is costing county taxpayers nothing to hold on to it. The proposal is to sell all 93.48 acres for $560,880, or $6,000 per acre. My first question is, was there ever an appraisal done for the property? According to the resolution, it states that the Public Works Committee of the County Board has been actively marketing this property. How was it being marketed, especially actively? The only way I was told were Herald Times reporter ads, which, in my humble opinion, is not a great way to actively market a long-term, valuable piece of property. How much was the county asking for the property? Were they asking what the appraisal came back at? Were they asking a similar amount they sold Expo property to Meyer, which was $187,755 per acre? How long has this property been marketed for? Was the city ever considered as a potential buyer, since growth is clearly continuing in that area? I am not asking you to end the current relationship between the county and Dan Buck, Charmwood Farms. There is no need to. I am simply asking that the current arrangement continue until such a time where there could be potential development of that site. Again, as leaders of our county, we need to have the foresight and vision that growth will continue in that area. I can assure you, when that happens, the town, the city, the county, or a private developer will not be paying $6,000 per acre to get the land back to create more than a farm field along our highest traveled corridor, I-43. On another note, isn't it ironic that the property is finally being sold when the county's bond rating has been downgraded? There is a major shortfall in the IS department, and the county is raising property taxes for the first time in over a decade. Placing the proceeds directly into the general fund, as the resolution states, couldn't come at a better time. However, it is very short-sighted and downright foolish to sell prime real estate, such as this, for $6,000 an acre, and, more importantly, to lose control over the future of this property. Remember, community leaders never expected the city to grow substantially when they moved the expo grounds to its current location. Now you, the county board, have sold land out there for almost $200,000 an acre because of its increased value over the years. I implore you to think of the long-term benefits of continuing to own this property versus the short-term benefits. Those benefits will only benefit you in the 2018 budget. I apologize for the lateness of this. I first found out about this from County Supervisor Biff Hansen around noon today. None of my staff were approached by county leaders about this potential sale. Additionally, I am sure you're probably asking yourself right now, If the city was so interested in this property and this property is so valuable, why didn't you make an offer sooner? Had the city known the county was seriously marketing this site, had the city known the very low sale price the county was willing to accept, and had the city been approached to look at the long-term growth in this area as a partner in long-term economic development, which we would have told you is very important to the city as we approach everything with a long-term vision, not a short-term one, then we probably would have addressed this much sooner with you. If the county is absolutely set on selling this property, for whatever reason, of which I'm still unsure the need to, then I would at least appeal to the county board to allow the city of Manitowoc an opportunity to counteroffer the sale, or allow for other developers to consider buying the property for a higher and better use long-term. I've already spoken to a few developers today about this property, and for $6,000 an acre, they'd be interested. Just to give you an example of a situation the city is currently facing, as of right now, we have 6 different businesses seeking land in our industrial park. If all 6 happen, which as of today has a very strong possibility, then we will need to start looking for more land for industrial growth.
Mayor,
This-
you already went over, but I'll let you
I have
fit up
5
all-
sentences left.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. This land, which you are considering selling, located directly on I-43 with quick access to it, could be the home of a business that adds tax base and jobs to our county in the future. Supervisors, I ask you to consider the long-term benefits of holding on to this property. I ask you to consider the long-term economic impact this piece of property could have for the entire county, and I ask you to table this resolution for continued dialogue on this site. I'll share with you my letter, and I also have a map of the property and a map of the industrial park, which shows the 6 businesses that are currently looking for land. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there anybody else wishing to speak to the county board this evening? Anyone else wishing to speak? Yes, Maura.
I'll be speaking to agenda item 10B, the resolution for the sale of the 93.48 acres of county property located at Hecker and Vebon for $561,000. I encourage each of you county board legislators to more carefully consider and discuss various factors about the sale. This property has a potentially much higher market value for commercial development than its current use as farmland, because of its ample size and location in close proximity to I-43 and our new $13 million investment in the Wisconsin Farm Discovery Center. The fact that the property no longer serves its initial public purpose is notable but irrelevant today. Now our county possesses a potentially valuable public asset. Its value and possible sale should be more carefully evaluated by you, our county board legislators, as part of your legacy. Given that increasing our county's tax levy is based in part on our county's new construction, the sale of this prime piece of land suitable for commercial development without further consideration by the county board legislators is very short-sighted and detrimental to the future financial interests of our county as a corporation and to our county's present and future taxpayers. The 3 parcels are located on the west side of I-43 in an area expanding commercial development by American, Harbortown Polaris, and Harbortown Harley-Davidson. East across the highway is the Holiday Inn Quality Inn Investors Community Bank, which sold in April of 2018 for $4.7 million, and the AMC Theater. Those corporations have done their market studies and decided to invest and hopefully profit in our county. But have we carefully studied whether liquidating these public assets is in our own public's best financial interest? Have we sought a professional appraisal of the parcel's commercial viability, estimated sewer water, and utility costs for a TIF/TIT, and so forth? I encourage you county legislators to take some more time to consider whether the sale of this public land now is really in our county's taxpayers' best interest. We may sell a public asset for $560,000 at far below its value for commercial development, which would improve our new construction for tax levy purposes for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Maura. Is there anybody else wishing to speak this evening to the board? Anyone else wishing to speak? And for a third and final time, anybody else wishing to speak? See none, I'll declare public comment closed. Communications are shown on the agenda. We only have two committee reports tonight. Before we go, I'd be remiss in not passing the word on from Manitowoc County Expo Manager Janelle Shelton, who's running the sound and camera tonight. Please, when you're speaking into the mic, pull the mic towards yourself. There's a lot of times they can't hear, and she can't hear within the building, so she has threatened me with that, so please do that. No, she has not threatened. She would never threaten, but please, if you can, especially for the viewers at home so they can hear. So, thank you very much. So we will go on to committee reports. I know Supervisor Dyzak is excused, so I will turn to Supervisor Ballman with Planning and Park. If you have any reports or anything to say. I know there's just petitions on the agenda. You're clear? Zimmer. Yes.
Okay, we got it now. Yeah, we have two petitions. The first petition actually has two parts. First is a petition by the Planning and Park Commission to the County Board of Supervisors for an amendment to the Manitowoc County Code, Chapter 4, Section 4.13, parens 2, fees. The amendment is for a 1% increase in permit fees adjusted to the nearest $5. Since the Planning and Zoning Department takes in roughly $300,000 a year in fees, this will result in a fee increase total of $3,000. And therefore, I so move for an approval of this 1% fee increase.
Well, there's no need for more, because these are just petitions. These aren't gonna be here till the next county board meeting. So this, yeah, there won't,
I beg your pardon. what
there
did
will, excuse me. Supervisor Zimmer, these are just the petitions that will be going before Planning and Park Commission yet for your next meeting.
Well, they went before us already.
Well, these aren't in the form of an ordinance or nothing.
Yeah, they've been before us, and we approved it to take it to to this meeting.
These will go to the November 8th meeting.
All right, very good. Well, then we'll strike all of it.
Yes. Does anybody have any questions for Supervisor Zimmer? Thank you very much. We will go to Public Works next. Supervisor Giroux is the chair with the one item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a resolution approving the sale of the county property to Dan Buck for the sale of $560,880, and I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Giroux. Oh, yes, because is there a second? We still have to do that manually yet. Seconded by Supervisor Hoffman. All right, discussion on the resolution. We will start with, I'll start with Supervisor Giroux. If you want to speak first before we go to the other speakers as chair.
Is this on?
Yes, it's on,
Okay.
yes.
Just kind of an FYI, this land has been sale forever. Many people knew about it. I'm surprised that the mayor was surprised today because his dad sits on the county board and the chairman sits on the city council. This is farmland. The committee has been looking for somebody that was interested. The man that's been farming this land for many years has finally been interested in buying it. I don't think that the county government is in the land speculation business, and if anybody is interested somewhere down the road in developing it, I am sure that Mr. Buck would be amenable. As to the rest of what may happen in the future, we've owned that land a long time, and we felt that his offer of was a fair and market price for that property, and it passed out of the committee, and that's the way we feel. It would be better to sell it and have the money in the kitty. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Giroux. Just so you know, as the chair of the committee, I always leave the chair's mic on, just so you're aware of that too. If there is a question of yourself or if you have to chime in quick, I will allow that. So, all right, we will move down to speaker list. Supervisor Vogel, you were first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In all due respect, Supervisor Giroux, I am the county supervisor for this area that butts up to the city of Manitowoc. And I knew the county owned the land. I've always known the county to own the land. But I myself, being the county supervisor, didn't realize this county property was for sale. I'm troubled with that. I'm troubled how fast this matter seems to be going. And apparently there's some more interest in this property that maybe we should take a look at. And I will not support the resolution and would ask that this matter be tabled until we can look at it further. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Vogel. Supervisor Hanson, you are next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I called City Hall today because I was thinking about the property. I had heard that the industrial park is close to being full. To my surprise, the mayor knew nothing about this. Now, if it's been for sale that long, my question would be, well, who's trying to sell it for us, or has it just kind of been for sale? Have we been actively trying to get rid of this property, or is it just, well, if somebody comes along and wants it, we'll sell it? There is a piece of this property that is right along the interstate. That could be very valuable. Just drive up through Green Bay and look at how it's all developed along the interstate. Look at Sheboygan along the interstate. We need to look at that as a community to grow. I have no problem if we don't have any interest and we decide to sell it, to sell it. However, it doesn't seem to me like we really went out and tried to sell this. How did we market it? At an earlier committee meeting tonight, I was told, well, since February. That's not a long period of time. How did we market it? Did we just put up signs? Did we run ads in a newspaper? Did we look at a developer? Did we get the word out that the land was available? Did we talk to the city because, hey, the city's growing out in that direction? The industrial park is full, getting full. This is a nice piece of land. And I think we need to take a step back, and if we're going to sell it, we need to look at marketing it and getting the correct amount of money for it. Selling it, if the city's interested, hey, let's sit down with them. When did the county and city start talking about this kind of stuff? We should be working together for all 79,000, 80,000 people that live in this county. Let's start talking to each other again. I will not support this. And Mr. Chairman, I don't know if I can do this. I would move to table it.
Yes.
Then I will move to table it, and I would appreciate a second.
No, he did not. He didn't. He was suggesting it. So there's a motion by Supervisor Hanson to table. Is there a second? Well, all right. Second by Supervisor Vogel. According to our rules, we will be allowed to speak one time on the motion to table this resolution. I guess just for clarification purposes, are we talking, Supervisor Hanson, just a motion to table indefinitely, or it just when a discussion will be come back later? A motion to table essentially can come off the table at any time, but if that's your intent, that's fine. I guess for clarification.
I would just move to table it and hope that we sit down with interested parties. If the city is interested, let's see what they have to say.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. So we do have a speakers list here, and I will go along with that speakers list, but now just remember, this is on the motion to table, and you'll be allowed to speak one time on the motion to table. So I will start with Supervisor Nichols, assuming my arrow can get up to your, there you go. Okay,
Thank you, Chairman
you're all
Bryan.
set.
Wouldn't it be more proper to postpone it indefinitely if we're considering looking at this into the future, rather than tabling it? But, you know, that's a matter of how we want to proceed on it. I would think that postponing it indefinitely would be more proper. In regard to Mr. Droll's comments where he mentioned my name, I don't recall in my 6.5 years on the board that we've ever discussed this property, either here or in committee. I don't recall seeing that. And so I would not have been able to discuss this with anyone in that regard. The question that he did have, and I do believe it relates to the motion that Supervisor Hanson made, is how much do we receive yearly from this property for that lease? Do we know that? Does anyone here have that information?
I'm sure Jerry Noiser does. Jerry, you want to come up to the board, or up to the podium just to mention that? It's
Okay.
just so everybody hears it at home as well, it's $14,000 annually right now with the contract.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I just want to interject, I guess, as chair a little bit. Not that I'm disagreeing with the marketing portion and the whole thing, but if I recall correctly, and this was like probably about 5 years ago, and I guess we'd have to go back and check minutes, but the county board essentially authorized Public Works to start the process of selling this property. There's a sign, I know, if you want to talk about marketing, I'm not going to say there hasn't been, I don't know what the whole thing is, but there has been a sign in that property for at least the last 5 years. I've mentioned it several times, I guess, in our Industrial Development Corporation meetings for the city of Manitowoc, that if you recall, when we were discussing selling the Meyer property, one of the proposals that several of us thought that if we were serious about selling the property to Meyer, that potentially moving Expo, we were looking at moving Expo to that property. So it's been out there. It's not like, I'm not saying it's been fully like a house with a realty sign in front of it and getting the full exposure of a realty company, but it has been out there. And maybe that's one of the regrets, that we should have been marketing more, but it has been out there and it has been authorized by this county board to do this. So, all right, I will continue on with the speakers list. Supervisor Bruner, you were next.
Thank you. I also would have voted against this, probably for many of the same reasons that have been already brought up this evening. I will favor or vote in favor of the postponement, though. So I had a whole long list of things to say, but postponement will work for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Bruner. Is there anybody else on the motion to, oh yes, Supervisor Banky, you were next on the motion.
Just chiming in on what you said, I was Chair of Public Works at that time, and this board did vote to authorize we did have an appraisal done, and it was back in 2007-8 time period. So yeah, we were authorized to begin the sale, putting it out there, trying to get it basically back on the tax roll. So yeah, you can argue whether it was advertised properly or whichever. I find it surprising that the Economic Development Corp, Progress Lakeshore, didn't know anything, or at least wasn't involved with that piece of property. I don't know. But I hope, I guess I don't have any problem with the postponement, and see what kind of check the mayor is willing to write.
Thank you, Supervisor Banky. Supervisor Metzger on the motion to table.
I am in favor of tabling it. If this was appraised, as Supervisor Banky says, in 2007, 2008, that appraisal is way off. I mean, we need to really update that and see what we really can get for it. Thank you.
I guess just to chime in that once again, if you look at the resolution, and I'll be honest, I will support the motion to table, because a lot of the reasons have been mentioned tonight, but on the other side of that issue as well, though, I do think the process was followed correctly, and maybe it is time for another evaluation, but you look at the property, right now it's currently farmland, it's zoned farmland, so it is correctly assessed as a farmland value. In the big term and big picture, yes, as a potential industrial site or a retail site, it's probably worth more, so maybe there is consideration for that, but I just don't like the idea that a lot of it's being said that this process wasn't done right. It was going in the right direction. I guess you're right, though. I think Progress Lakeshore could have been more involved, and I guess that goes back once again to our non-involvement with Progress Lakeshore as a member. But that's another story in itself. So, all right, were you done, Supervisor Metzger?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Supervisor Droll,
Supervisor Husband was next.
you had one, you were one,
Okay.
according to my thing.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if all of you have noticed that there's a lot of farmland on I-43 around a lot of communities all over between wherever I-43 is. And granted, if somebody wants a piece of property and like the Meyer folks came in and paid a good deal of money for it, that's great. Look at how long it happened before the Meyer property came in. Look at how long it's been since the American Inn was built and when Stocks built the Harley Davidson and things. I'm not saying that this land doesn't have any value to the right person down the road, but we've owned that land a long time, and it's been no secret. And as far as I know, Lakeshore Progress knew about that property. Nobody has come up to offer selling it, or I mean buying it until Mr. Buck offered us that kind of money. And I've got to tell you, everybody thinks that land is more valuable when it's not yours or when you're trying to sell it. And I personally own 40 acres on Herman Road that I paid $2 grand for and waited 5 years. I was going to build a house there, and then we didn't sell it before somebody offered me $6,000 for it, and it was a farmer, and he's farming it right now. And that doesn't mean that somebody isn't going to come in and offer him some considerable more value than that, but I'm just saying, I don't think it's government's place to be in the land development you know. It's like if it's, we have the county owns acreage between Two Rivers and Mishicot that has also been for sale. We've been trying to sell it, and the best price for that we've had so far is $2,500 an acre. Admittedly, it's not next to I-43, but it is farmland. But if you don't have big farms in the neighborhood that need to spread manure from a lot of cows, that's an issue. And if you don't have some company that needs that and is willing to do everything they need, and to this date there hasn't been, but we did have a legitimate offer that was, in our estimation, a marketable price, and that's why we accepted it. So I'm just telling you, that's the way it is. And you can go ahead and table it and market it and sit on it, and I hope we get a ton of money for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Droll. Supervisor Hoffman on a motion to table.
I contacted a banker shortly after our committee meeting just to check and see what farmland was going. And farmland, clear farmland that's farmable, is going for $7,000 to $7,500 an acre. You got to remember, there's also odd acres on there that's wasteland or rough land that's wet, that is non-farmable. That acreage is going for $3,000 to $4,000 an acre. So if you look at the offer that we had, it's actually above the market value. So I believe it was a good offer. And again, like I said, the committee took it as an offer of good structure.
Thank you, Supervisor Hoffman. Supervisor Falkowski, you were next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I look at that map, primarily the processed land or the agricultural land is buttressed against residential homes. On a county road, it's not, but essentially that parcel is in fact a segment that is having residential areas or residential housing on that whole strip. If I understand and recall from our zoning committees, a lot of people that are in residential situations are not really favorable of a lot of active development for development. They like to cohabitate with the natural environment, which is in fact agriculture and the wooded lots that are part of that parcel. So from that standpoint, I see the appropriateness for the individual wanting to purchase the land and maintain cropping from that parcel, but I also see it a benefit for those residents that are on that strip. So from that standpoint, I do see it's a appropriate application for that parcel to be sold to the individual with the conditions that are structured with the neighborhood. So I'm in favor for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Falkowski. Supervisor Zimmer, you are next.
You would think that in the city of Manitowoc and among organizations like Progress Lakeshore, that they would be very, very interested in land around the city of Manitowoc, and that they would have a keen eye out for possible development of land. It seems that that's not the case. They're completely surprised by land that's available for sale. Well, if you're a city planner, or if you're an organization that wants to expand business opportunity within Manitowoc County, you think you'd be very well aware of property for sale that could be used in expansion of business for economic opportunity. I find it strange that there's a sense of total surprise all of a sudden when the Public Works Committee made a reasonable deal for the sale of this property. I'm not in favor of tabling this.
Thank you, Supervisor Zimmer. Supervisor Holschbach, you were next on the motion to table.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the motion before us is to table, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. I'll be voting for the motion before us. And I guess, you know, this is a lot about the potential of the property, as others have talked about. But I think the mayor explained this in a very compelling way. And Supervisor Giroux earlier said he was surprised. My surprise is that I put together everything I know about this from an email I got from a constituent today and from the mayor's explanation this evening. So I think at a bare minimum, we should support tabling. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Holschbach. Any other discussion on the motion to table? Any other discussion? One last time, because I'm going to speak and that'll be it. All right. Thank you very much. I guess good discussion once again, and you know, it's a matter of the chicken or the egg first, I guess, in my mind. I do think the proper procedures were done with this property. It was marketed correctly by then Supervisor Banky as Chair of Public Works, and I guess, you know, I've known it's been for sale. I guess as County Board of Supervisors, you should go back and look and do your due diligence on what's going on, I guess, and don't be afraid to ask questions. But I also feel, though, that the appropriate thing action at this time is to hold that property, and I do think there's a lot of potential to not use, I guess, for farmland, so I would be in favor of tabling it. But I also do think that here's the chance, though. We have 25 members here, and we got, well, I'm not picking on you, Mayor, but, you know, I guess as an alderman too, and, you know, we had talked about expanding our industrial park because we are running out of property. Here's a potential property site as well, and maybe even though we're not members of Progress Lakeshore as of this minute, we should be contacting them and hopefully can market as property. But so we will be motioning. I will support the motion to table. With that, I will turn over to County Clerk Lois Keels to call for the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on to table the resolution approving the sale of county property to Dan Buck for the sum of $560,880.
Supervisor Vogt, can you try? There we go. So the motion passed 16-5 with Supervisors Mink, Falkowski, Hoffman, and Giroux voting, and Supervisor Zimmer as well voting no. So as of this right now, the sale is tabled. So everybody bring on the discussion, it'd be great. Okay. Any other questions for Supervisor Giroux? Thank you very much. Before we run off here, I just want to run through some quick dates here under announcements. First up, next Monday, November 5th, Supervisor Hanson and the Finance Committee will be meeting at 4:30 p.m. at the Administration Building on South 9th Street to start discussion on the proposed 2019, but Supervisor Bank, you got a question quick?
For if a lot of supervisors show up with staff, that we couldn't
Well,
move that to the C&T building?
I guess that's a good point, but that, the second portion is the county executive's
Right,
thing,
but it's gonna get pretty crowded in that building.
I guess
in that room.
if it's possible, Supervisor Hanson, or Todd, you were back there, could we look into going into the CNT building? If it's all right with the chairman? If it's up, I can't get you, there we go, you're on.
I have no problem moving the meeting. I did not know until today there was another meeting scheduled after.
Right.
I'm assuming, can I just talk about the meeting a little bit? Is that-
Sure.
Okay.
Just quickly, but I get, or not quickly, but don't, content I get, but maybe
No,
structure.
well, I kind of wanted to go through the agenda that we will be talking about for sure on that night, and if we need to schedule another meeting because we don't get through everything, we may have to do that, but I did send out an email to the board a while back asking for concerns. The initial concerns that came back was a concern of library funding, the concern that we're losing the grant for the drug court. It's been a successful program. Do we want to start putting a little money away every year so we can continue that after the grant is gone? And then the concern of supervisors over the amount of bonding and specifically what we're going to be borrowing money for what kind of projects. Those are the first three that came in. I had set up the agenda to talk about those three. Also on the agenda, though, it was open if anything else came up. Since I set that agenda with Todd, we have been asked to talk about the iPads, have been asked to talk about Project Lakeshore, been asked to talk about chamber membership, putting some money away for future needs for the county. Also, there's positions, I'll need more information on this, but some DHS positions, a grant fell through, and they will not be funded. So those are all things that people would like to talk about at finance, which may make our meeting go rather long. And then, of course, the executive has his meeting after that. My only other concern is that there is an election the following day, and staff from that department will be at that finance meeting the night before. I really don't want to keep that staff there long if they've got a long day on Tuesday. So we'll see how it goes Monday night. If we need to have another meeting to come up with a budget with changes, if there are any changes and modifications, if we have to have another meeting to bring back to this board, I'm hoping we could get that done by our scheduled date, but I can't guarantee that. We all know that. We've been in this process many times. So if we want to look into the bigger room, that's fine with me, and we'll change that location. But as of right now, that's the agenda so far for finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Banky, quickly, I guess?
I would just encourage anyone to make that meeting on Monday. Even if you're not on the finance committee, your ability to be able to put input into the finance committee, whether it be the library or whatever issue is on you, that's probably the best opportunity for you to be vocal and give your opinion versus waiting to the budget night becomes a little bit cumbersome and making changes at that point in time. If you can make that meeting, I would encourage you to make that meeting because that is the working meeting. So if you can make it, be there.
Thank you, Supervisor Banky. And now to get back to the process that we talked about finance, also, as you got your email today and it's been announced that the county executive Ziegelbauer invites the county board to meet with the department heads after the finance committee meeting, which could be anywhere from 4:45 to whenever. I am not scheduling a committee of the whole meeting for that. I guess I would talk to Lois. It might be an incidental quorum for that meeting, but obviously there will be no county board action at that meeting. There will be no discussion by the county board. It will just be an informative time to ask questions of the department heads and the county executive if he so wishes. It is not required to be there. I will not be there because I will have a city finance meeting that night. I had scheduled several weeks ago. So I guess I encourage you to attend, but if you can't, it's not required to be there. Going to the next portion, our regular scheduled county board meeting for March will be Thursday, November. Will be November 8th at 6:30 p.m. And as alluded to by Supervisor Hanson, if the Finance Committee does not reach a consensus or passes a budget, we will not have that county board meeting on the 8th. We will not meet. If there's not a consensus or if budget does not come out of the finance committee, we will postpone that meeting, I guess, until the finance committee can come up with a plan. So we'll see what happens, I guess. So just keep that in mind, but right now the schedule is finance on the Monday the 5th, and then county board on the 8th. So, any questions in regards to that? All right, seeing none, a motion to adjourn would be in order. Motion by Supervisor Ballman, second by Supervisor Vogel. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Oh, wait.